So recently, I did a national political video, and I posted it into a couple of local political groups. And there was one gentleman in particular that asked the question, why is this in this particular group? Because I know it's local. That's fine. Because local elections are way more important than national elections, but national elections affect your everyday life just as much as local elections and politics and politicians and things of that nature. So that's pretty much the reason, one of the reasons that I put that in that particular group. And this is going to be in one of those groups as well. And it's because just as far as Democrats go, on a national scale and even a local scale, they deal in like two main things more than anything. Democrats deal in hypocrisy, and they just outright make up things. They just lie. When you're just making up things out of thin blue air, you're just lying. So, sir, you in this particular group that I'm going to put this video in, and I'm not saying this to be all flippant, this, that, and the other, because I don't remember your name, blah, blah, blah. But you're going to know who I'm talking to. And that's the reason that I put that video in that particular group. And that's the reason why this video is going in that group. Because you just have to think for 5 seconds, right? This is one of the whole things that got me interested in politics in the first place, right? So in the United States, you got two dominant parties, right? These dominant parties can't seem to agree on anything. Immediately when I noticed that, it just piqued my interest. So I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me, right? Somebody's got to be right and somebody's got to be wrong. I'm going to drill it down to the very last compound. Shout out KRS-One. See how it sounds a little unrational. But I'm just going to break it down to the very last brain cell to figure out this does not make sense to me. Why can't these grown, accomplished people, you got lawyers, you know, some of our most respected professions, and these people are in the interest of leading this country and making laws and supposedly making life better for us, they can't agree on anything? So that was one of the things that got me interested in politics in the first place. Once I peeled the layers back and saw what was going on, again, it's just a surface level thing. No one really knows. Only people knows what's going on are those people that are inside those rooms, right? Then once they decide what they're going to do, and this is both sides, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberals, far left, far right, radical, whatever. Once they get inside their little rooms and all this, that, and the other, then they decide what the public sees. I mean, and what else can we do? We're not in those rooms, right? So we have no choice to go off what the public sees, but we do have a choice to use good common sense. Is it common sense for boys to compete against girls? That's what y'all Democrats want. Is it, or better yet, does it make sense because a boy feelings change from minute to minute. Boys shouldn't be feeling shit anyway, but if a boy feels a certain way today, he can be a girl. Right? I mean, let's get to the basics. We gotta drill this shit down to the very, very basic. The way you feel right now. Search your own self. And this is gonna be weird, but in Star Wars, one of the ways that Palpatine got Anakin Skywalker to convert to Darth Vader, he would say, search your feelings. That mirrors real life, because he was feeling a certain way at a certain time, and Palpatine got to him at that time. And do you know what? He was one of the most up and coming Jedis and this, that, and the other. But once he felt a certain way, Palpatine got to him. He became Darth Vader. Which, by the way, Darth Vader is like Darth Vader and Kylo Ren. And you know anything about Star Wars, Kylo Ren. Two of my favorite characters ever. But I digress. So let's check out this CNN panel.
I'm going to go back to Elon Musk for a second, because I mean, it is true that he spent $20 million on affiliated groups that were involved in this race. Is it a risk for Republicans to put all their eggs in that basket? Not only did he spend the money, he came to the state. Right. He talked about cutting Medicaid, social.
So I don't know if they're going to talk about this because I haven't watched this video. This has to do with we just had some special elections in Florida and Wisconsin in particular. In Florida, the Republicans in Florida won easily, so we good there. In Wisconsin, the Democrat won. Now, the Democrat said she was going to gerrymander, which is she's going to redistrict whatever, I don't know, redistrict, right? And so that will give Democrats more seats. And so what happened was that the Democrat won. And so what happened in this race, anytime Donald Trump is not on the ballot, Republicans are kind of apathetic. They really don't turn out in large numbers. So what happened at the last minute, Elon Musk noticed this, and then at the last minute, he poured a lot of money into this Republican Wisconsin Supreme Court judge's campaign, and then Republicans was like, oh shit, you know, we better get out here and vote, we better do this, do that at the last minute, but it still wasn't enough. So this particular race in Wisconsin was very, very important. So that's some of the context for that.
Security through Doge, bringing those issues up.
Actually, he never talked. He explicitly said that he would not cut Social Security.
Well,
that's exactly what he said.
Talked at his rallies.
No, other people said about that, but I was there. I watched it. Okay. He did not say he was going to cut Medicaid.
Other people at his rallies who work for Doge, who work for Elon Musk's organization, talked about those issues.
No, I was at the rally. Not a one of them said that.
Not a one of them.
Said, but nobody there actually said.
Do you think that there are risks here?
There are. If people believe the lies that people are saying about
issues being associated.
That's not at all what they said. If people believe that Medicaid and Medicare is going to be touched, that's just a flat, outright lie. What he talked about are people who are over 120 years old, who clearly are not alive.
Well, the reason I brought it up is
Social Security or Medicare.
Okay, well,
that's totally wrong.
Just to sort this out, the reason
So what they're trying to say is Donald Trump's going to cut all these people off from their Medicare. They won't get their checks and this, that, and the other. From a political, let's go, not even a common sense standpoint. Let's go from a political standpoint. Do you think that makes any sense? That just does not make sense. You will kill yourself politically if you cut people's actual Medicare. What they're actually doing with a lot of these programs, like with Medicare, for instance, and maybe he'll say this, I don't know. Like I said, I haven't watched this video. They got people that are still getting checks from Medicare that are 120 years old, 200 years old, this, that, and the other. Do those people really exist? Who's getting those checks? Yes, he's going to cut Medicare, but he's going to cut it from people who are deceased. I mean, yes. What is not to understand about that? It's called waste. It's called fraud, which is the operative word in this particular example, and it's called abuse. That's what they've been saying. And he specifically said he won't cut Medicare to, as far as direct payments to people. And so far he has done exactly what he campaigned on, and that's what he continues to do.
I brought this up is because the claim here is that there's massive widespread fraud and that's all they're addressing. That's obviously a disputed claim because it's not true that 120-year-old people are getting Social Security checks. The checks stop at a certain point automatically because those checks and balances
but those Social Security numbers get counted for various parts of the federal government. So they don't get a benefit directly to those people, but they count for money that gets allocated to different departments in their budget. And they shouldn't be. If somebody is no longer alive, they shouldn't be able to count that.
I guess
who's getting the money?
My question was, what are the risks here of Elon dabbling in elections for Republicans going forward?
Well, again, I think in the end, he's going to have to continue to make the case. Part of the reason why when we talked about our recall, what flipped things for us early on in that recall process, Time Magazine called me Dead Man Walker. And the reason was because all the narratives coming out from the press, coming out from the left, were about all these horrible, egregious things. Once we started to give examples of things we were actually doing, not the things the press said, not the things that our opponents said, but the things that we were actually doing, when we ended up going before the voters in the final election, the recall, we actually won by more votes than we did. So that I think that what's paramount for him or anyone else aligned with him is keep giving actual examples of what they're doing. Set aside things like Social Security and make it abundantly clear that that's not being touched. But if there's waste, fraud, or abuse, spell it out, make the case, and bring it to the voters.